a woman named Harsha Walia was responding to a news report about other church fires. You see that? It's a story in Vice News about 2 more Catholic churches being torched in Canada, and she replies, "Burn it all down." Pretty simple, 4 words. You don't need any more words when you're that plain spoken. What does she want? To burn it down. How much of it? All of it. What? Churches, Christians, Catholics, society, whatever, burn it all down. Okay, but Harsha Walia is the executive director of the BC Civil Liberties Association. I'm not kidding. Here's what the BC Civil Liberties Association says about itself. The BC Civil Liberties Association is the oldest and most active civil liberties and human rights group in Canada. I don't think that's true. The BCCLA has been actively advancing human rights and civil liberties through litigation, law reform, community-based legal advocacy, and public engagement and education for the last half-century. And they're a registered charity, of course, and they're supposed to do good things, to use the law to help people, to protect people, to fight against harm using the law. And there's Harsha Walia. Not just some staffer, not just some intern. She's the boss. She's the executive director. She's the head of the Civil Liberties Agency, activists for all of BC. She runs a charity by that name, and she is calling for hate crimes, for arson, really for terrorism. It's been almost a week and not a word from the BCCLA about this. I checked, no apology, no retraction, no announcement that Harsha Walia is taking some time off for personal reasons. None of that, not a peep. I tweeted that shocking juxtaposition, her insane call for hate crimes, next to her civil liberties bio. And she has now made her Twitter account private, so you can't see it. But I actually can. I've been following her on Twitter for a while because she's so out there, so I'm not locked out. And I've got to say, far from being repentant, she's indignant. She hasn't had second thoughts about her tweet. It's still up, and she's raging about anyone who's upset by her call to burn it all down. Locked my Twitter after receiving over 200 trolling messages in response to a tweet 1 week ago. I've been reported and tagged into Vancouver Police, RCMP, CSIS, CBSA, employer, provincial and federal government, and with dozens of calls for me to be charged for terrorism and hate crime. Yeah, I mean, look at her tweet again. She refers to a news report of churches being torched, arson, and she says, burn it all down. Not a lot of wiggle room there. But I'm serious. She says, no, responding to reports about arson with burn it all down doesn't actually mean burn it all down. Let it burn it down is expression of rage and sadness that many survivors in the downtown east side whom I have spoken with are saying, though not universally, and I recognize there is nuance that tweet doesn't capture, nor was it intended to, and tweet is mine, just providing context. What? DTE side, that's the downtown east side, that's a rough part of Vancouver, lots of homeless people, so many people drunk or on drugs, very dangerous place. I think it's the worst few blocks anywhere in Canada. So she's blaming someone in the downtown east side for putting that phrase into her head. I just have never seen such a pitiful excuse. Then she says, thank you for care, everyone. I have been informed there are police complaints being filed against me, which is beyond words. But this is moment for solidarity with Indigenous nations and not ridiculous Twitter trying to derail and distract from real issues. Come what may, we will win. It's beyond words that you've been reported. You react to churches being burned out of political hatred with the phrase burn it all down, and you're surprised that people are reporting it to the police. We will win. Who's we? Win what? The arsonists or something? And then she writes, the first person to tweet referenced my position on abolishing police. Then cops, conservatives, Zionists, they're the worst, and right-wing pundits, oh, they're the super worst, piled on with their scores to settle. This is both personal and also a distraction from staying focused on justice and accountability for survivors. What's that Zionist bit? How did that sneak in there? Scores to settle? She just raged against churches, said burn them all down, and she's talking about other people settling scores. By the way, does a single word I've read from her sound like she actually spends a minute of her day on civil liberties work? I don't know if there's a single civil liberties thing they have ever done over there. We have over 1,800 lockdown cases we're fighting for citizens across Canada, probably close to 100 cases in BC, maybe more. We take people of every religious and racial and political stripe, but she's raging on about Jews or Zionists or whatever. What are you doing? This one made me chuckle. This guy said, wow, and Walia is a representative of BC Civil Liberties who sits on many government committees. Yeah, pretty crazy. And she writes back, here is the president of Vancouver Police Union and the BC Police Association trying to intimidate me. For 15 years before I had the support I do now, people have thought that reporting me to employers or funders or the state will make a difference. Joke's on you, Ralph. Trying to intimidate you. He didn't say anything other than he was shocked by you. Joke's on you, Ralph? What joke? But that funders thing got me thinking. Who funds the BC Civil Liberties Association? I know who funds our Civil Liberties Project, thousands of ordinary people with small donations. So I looked at the BCCLA's financial statement, and last year they received a $380,000 grant from something called the BC Law Foundation. What's the BC Law Foundation? Well, it's a public interest foundation that tries to improve the law, but it gets its money in a weird way. I actually don't like how it gets its money. When a client of a lawyer gives their lawyer some money to hold for them, for a purchase, in trust for something, whatever, it earns a tiny bit of interest, right? Well, and this is the weird part, and I think it's kind of grifting. They take that. The BC Law Foundation just takes the interest from all that money for everyone. They just take it, they don't ask you. And then they spend it on their do-goodery, some of which is good, but much of which is just hard left-wing ideology. Like I say, they don't raise the money voluntarily, they just take it from clients. They just take it. Can you imagine any other profession saying, oh yeah, you had some interest coming to you, but we'll just pocket that, thanks. Well, guess what? We here at Rebel News have lots of legal work in BC, so the Law Foundation's grant to the BCCLA includes some of our money. Some of our Rebel money is being spent on the salary for Harsha Walia, that weird hater, anti-Zionist, anti-police, anti-church cheerleader. Now look, I'm not for prosecuting hate speech, but I'm going to guess that Harsha Walia is, at least against her list of enemies, conservatives, Jews, churches, whatever. I think she's absolutely over the line of the left's hate speech test. I mean, imagine if she was talking that way about mosques, burn them all down. But I do object to my own money being used to whip up religious bigotry and to call for criminal violence, even if she says she didn't mean it. So I asked our lawyers to draft a letter to the BC Law Foundation, not as just some busybody meddler, but literally as someone whose own money has been taken from me and given to this race-baiting, arson-cheering nut bar. I want my money back. And frankly, if the BC Law Foundation has any morals, which is an open question, they should rescind their $380,000 grant to the BCCLA. That's not censorship, that's just stopping to give free money to a crazy violence cheerleader. I mean, she says she's got more funding than ever. Unfortunately, I believe her. Fine. So let her raise her own money from George Soros or woke white leftists who hate the church because of daddy issues or whatever. Fine. Just stop using my money, okay? If you want to see our lawyer's letter, go to findthearsonist.com. We've posted it there. That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.